All right, brought in a keg, but this is not a video about kegs. This is a video about 6 ways to get your first chin up, pull up, whatever you want to call it. I think it's going to be 6 ways. It could be 5, could be 7, not sure. We'll know by the end. Some other time we will do a video on how to turn this keg into a strongman keg. So we'll talk about getting off the lid that's on there, putting a different cap on, filling it with stuff. But for now, chin-ups. Number 1, your grip. Take a supinated grip, a palms facing you grip, instead of a pronated grip. A pronated grip, commonly known as a pull-up. A supinated grip is commonly known as a chin-up. The naming system is completely arbitrary. It kind of annoys me. Either way your chin goes up, either way you pull yourself up. But I'm going to recommend that you do a chin-up instead of a pull-up, at least for now. Once you can do 10 of them in a row, you can do whatever you want, because this is a stronger version. The pull-up is a disadvantaged version. It doesn't take quite as much advantage of your muscle mass as the chin-up does. Now, don't go around telling me, oh, I want to do pull-ups because they're harder, or I think I should train pull-ups because they're harder. Yes, of course they're harder. Many things are harder. That doesn't mean we should necessarily start by doing them, or that doesn't necessarily mean it's the best way to do them, all right? Squatting on one foot with cotton balls shoved up my nose and in my mouth is a real hard way to squat. That doesn't mean that that's the way that I should squat. In the way that allows me to lift the most weight, all right? Same thing here. Start in the strongest version. Train that version. Everything else will get stronger along with it. So, number 1, do a chin-up. Do a palms facing you version. Number 2, now this video in general, trying to get better at chins, period, but specifically for people trying to get their first chin up or their first pull up. So number 2 is a banded chin up. In other words, using those strength bands, those resistance bands, those fairly thick ones. There's 2 ways that you can do that. Number 1, you can wrap part of it around the top of the pull up bar, let it hang, and then you can put 1 foot in the band. I would not recommend putting 2 feet in the band. You want 1 foot loose. You can put that foot down at the end, or should something go wrong, you've got 1 foot. Make sure that you can hang from the bar safely without the assistance of a band if you're going to go this route. The test that we always use is someone has to be able to hang from a pull-up bar for 10 seconds unassisted by anything. Sorry, it's raining, it's lightning, I don't know how well the audio is going to come through, but you got to be able to hang for 10 seconds from the pull-up bar unassisted before we do any work with the bands. So that's one way to do it. The preferred way that we usually do it now, because that way can kind of start to cause some swinging, is we will stretch the band across from one safety, from one squat or bench crash bar to the other, and then you can put a foot on there instead. That's our preferred method now. Number 3, lat pull downs, also just known as a pull down. Pull down is an even better option than the banded option because it's very incrementally scalable, right? You can go 2.5 pounds, 5 pounds, 7.5 pounds. Bands are great, but it's tough when you go from like the green band down to the purple band. That's a big jump. So you go from the green band down to the purple plus a red. Yes, that's an option. Those are our colors anyway. You can come up with a system that works pretty well for bands, but lat pull downs work real well because you can make tiny jumps in the weights, and that's a great way to make continued progress without having to make too big of a jump, and that tends to cause people to stall out. Number 4, negatives. A negative is where you kind of hop up to the top of a pull-up bar or a chin-up bar. Usually have to use like a bench or a chair to do that, and then lower yourself. Our preferred count is 1,001, 1,002, 1,003. So you're going to lower yourself all the way down. Make sure that you start above the bar. Make sure that you finish with complete elbow extension at the bottom. Start real low with negatives. In terms of the number of reps, maybe 3 total reps your first workout, and then you can start adding reps to there. It's an entirely negative, it's entirely eccentric experience. It's loaded eccentric, and that's the type of stuff that tends to cause soreness. So if you start with a bunch of negatives, you're going to be real sore the next day. We'll have a programming discussion some other time in a future video, maybe within the next couple, but suffice to say for now, start conservatively with how many negatives you're doing. If you can't do it under a controlled fashion, if you jump up to the top and you just boom, dive bomb to the bottom, don't do them. You're not ready for them yet. You need to continue getting stronger. And once you get to this, actually doing chin-ups, then you would do chin-ups. Eventually, maybe you'll decide to do pull-ups. But I'm serious. Train chin-ups. Make chin-ups the regular movement. If you have a test coming up or something like that, like a military test that requires a pull-up, yeah, then at some point you're going to have to practice that. But that's exactly what that's going to be. In general, I would recommend doing a supinated grip, a chin-up. Now, you'll notice in a couple of these videos, I'm actually doing a pronated grip, so I'm going against my own advice. But that's because in these videos, I've got an issue going on with my left wrist, and it doesn't like that. It doesn't like that supinated position during the chin-up. So I've been doing a pull-up. And number 6, frequency. Specifically, you've got to do them. If you're working on getting your first one, I would really recommend that you do them twice a week. But the most important thing, the biggest reason why people can't do chins, why they can't do them, is simply we don't do them. And it's understandable. It's kind of discouraging. You can't do one. Where do you start, right? Well, now you've got a way to start. But my recommendation for your frequency is doing them twice a week. If you at least get them in once a week, that's great, but I would recommend doing them twice a week, all right? So how are you gonna do this? Well, one, you can put them at the end of your strength training workouts. This is a strength training move after all. It's a very important one, by the way. So if you're training Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you could do your chins on Mondays and on Fridays after your lifts. You could do them on Wednesdays and Fridays as well, that's fine. Make sure that there's at least one day separating your two chinning days. Another option is if you're training Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and let's say you're doing conditioning on Tuesdays and Thursdays or Tuesdays and Saturdays, something like that. Come in, do your chins first, and then do your conditioning afterward. Don't try to do your chins after your conditioning. Yes, you can do it, but it's gonna be worse, and conditioning is terrible anyway, so just save it for last when you're a little bit more tired. Do your chins first, then do your conditioning. And then the last option with making sure that you're doing them, remember we're just talking about frequency, actually doing your chins, is you can do them before or during your workout. This is not my favorite option, but if you know that if you just push them off to the end of the workout, you have a history of not doing them, well, that's the worst option. So the second worst option, but definitely a better option, is getting them done at some less than optimal time. So maybe you walk in and you say, I gotta do my chins before I do my squats. I really don't recommend that, but if you know you're gonna skip them, then you gotta get them in right there. A better option yet would be just to space them throughout your workout. So you walk in the door before you even put on your lifting shoes, or you walk into your garage, whatever, you do your first set of chins, right? You do all of your squats. And before you do your first set of bench or press, then you do your second set of chins. Even all of your deadlifting, sorry for all the wind and the noise, and then you do your last set of chins, so you can space them out throughout the workout. So there you go, you've got some options. Hope this helps you get stronger and live better, and if you're interested, let us know if you've had ways that have really helped you get your first chin up, your first pull up, and let us know if you're interested in a video on programming, on specifically kind of a specified approach on how to get your first chin.